We do have a little bit of breaking news for you this morning. That's very exciting. So let's bring on Nicolas. Good morning, Nicolas. Thank you for being here so early.
Morning. Thanks for having me.
Oh, no, it's exciting. Well, we've got three things to chat about today, and one of them is kind of breaking news, is it not?
It is. It's very breaking. I'll
It's
tell you that
very
for
breaking
sure.
news. Okay, but let's start with what we advertised this show to be about. We're going to bring up this headline now, and this is why we brought Nicholas on. It says breaking 2.23 million person study finds pneumococcal vaccines increase risk of pneumonia and death. Thank you for that because we saw so much of that on the bus as we traveled around. Nicholas, tell us about this study. 2.23 million people?
Yeah, this is absolutely huge. This appears to be the largest real world study ever done on the pneumococcal vaccines. And so the findings of this kind of represent what's actually happening with these vaccines. So the important background is children in the US, little babies, infants, are advised to get 4 doses of a pneumococcal vaccine. Adults over 65 are also recommended to get the pneumococcal vaccine. And there's so many different forms of these vaccines. So this study specifically looked at the PCV13 and PPSV23. So the pneumococcal conjugate vaccine, PCV13, is what was given to all of our children for the past decade. It was rolled out in like the 2010s, right? So that's what this study looked at, and also looked at the PPSV23, the pneumococcal polysaccharide vaccine. That one is still in use today by adults. So in general, and the final conclusion of this study, after looking at over 2 million individuals, was that compared to those who did not receive these pneumococcal vaccines, those who received it faced about 80% increased risk of pneumococcal pneumonia and 91% increased risk of death from pneumonia, the very things that this vaccine's supposed to prevent. So it does the complete opposite. And we're just pumping babies and adults and older adults with this garbage. And so it's actually accelerating their decline and leading to more severe outcomes. This is a disaster.
It's huge news and it should be on front page headlines of every media, mainstream media outlet, but it's not. There's silence on it. So why should people care about this? I mean, we know why they should, but tell everybody why they should.
Yeah, people should care about this because it is literally a core component of the CDC's hyper vaccination schedule. And so it's literally so many kids, like your kids, if you have kids, like for the past, 20 years, they've probably been injected, if you follow the schedule, with at least 4 doses of this vaccine, right? And so actually in 2021, they retired the PCV13 one used in the study, and now they use the PCV15, PCV20. There's so many different types. What that just means is there's more type versions of polysaccharides conjugated to diphtheria toxins. So actually, the newer ones have more of these components in it, more of these antigens. And so they're actually expected to be more dangerous than the one looked at in the study. So this is very worrisome. And, now it appears that all the individuals that receive these vaccines may, in fact, be at increased risk of pneumonia and pneumonia death.
And this will explain so many of the parents that reported death following these vaccines. That what you've just proven shows that what they say, the people say, is true, Nicholas, which is what we've been fighting for so long. They know not the danger they're in when they take these kids for these vaccinations.
Right, right. Yeah, they don't know the danger, and most doctors, they're not going to tell them this risk. They're not going to tell them about this study. I have not seen this study on any mainstream media outlet. Usually, they never talk about the most shocking studies showing that vaccines cause harm. They only show the studies showing they have benefit, and so this needs to be put in the hands of all the pediatricians across the globe. And this should urgently initiate a complete reevaluation of the pneumococcal vaccine schedule, especially in the United States. This is something ACIP should be looking at.
Yeah, well, do we know if HHS has been sent this? Do we know if Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has seen this?
I hope he has. I would say that a lot of people in HHS do follow the Focal Point Substack. They do receive these emails, so I hope at least some of them saw it. They follow us on X, so it's possible, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, the focalpoints.com. Everybody follow, and you can follow Nick on social media as well, which is what I've just started doing now that I've found him. So, how do these results challenge the scientific and policy rationale behind current pneumococcal vaccine recommendations, Nick?
Well, they undermine it because this study showed the vaccines literally do the opposite of what they're supposed to do, which is prevent pneumonia death. So since they do the complete opposite, it literally just completely undermines the entire rationale of pumping a small baby at 4 different doses of this vaccine. And then it also specifically and strongly undermines the rationale for adults, which was studied in this particular paper, where it was adults over 50. They are for sure at this increased risk of death and pneumonia. So all of this has to be reevaluated. In the meantime, based on this study, I would say it is not worth it in any stretch of the imagination to put yourself at increased risk of pneumonia and death.
So the bottom line is, if you are a parent and you're going to go into a pediatrician, they're going to offer you this shot, this pneumococcal shot. Know this, your child could die. According to this study, your child could die. That alone should make people not want to take it.
Yeah. We can't be gambling with people's lives, putting them at risk of death and more severe illness. It's just ridiculous, right? A vaccine should not be deadlier than the disease, and it should not be making the disease worse. Vaccines should not be serving as infection amplifiers like we saw with the mRNA shots.
Right, well, Nicolas, let's move on now because that's horrific. Now we're going to go on something even more dark, which is the Gates microneedle. So you just wrote about this, and I think there is a headline coming up about this. It's Bill Gates. Here we go. New Gates-funded microneedle patch implant installs both mRNA and quantum dot markings into the body. Well, that is as dark as you can get.
Yeah, this is very, very worrisome. And I do believe that this is actually going to be the next mRNA platform, vaccine platform that they try and roll out at a wide scale. So, first in 2019, Gates funded a study for the original development of these quantum dot implants. So it's a microneedle patch array. So it's got a bunch of mini needles. It's like a Band-Aid. You put it on your wrist, it dissolves, and it installs these quantum dot materials that last for at least 5 years. So they developed that in 2019. Now in 2025, Gates funded another study that shows just how advanced now this technology has become. It is advancing at a very fast pace. Now these microneedle patches can install literal quantum dot QR codes. QR codes that can be read with AI with specialized cameras and decoded to store batch information, lot number, how many doses you received. There you go. They put it on the pig. That's what it looks like. It's a literal QR code. You will be marked. This lasts, again, for years, perhaps permanently. And this will be used as a biological vaccine passport system where you won't use your phone. You won't use the QR code on your phone to enter the store and travel. You will use your wrist where this material is embedded in your body. And so this is very dangerous. And this even earned a spot at the 2025 Global Vaccine Forum, where they had their own session on these microneedle patch implants. So this is planned for wide-scale deployment for another pandemic.
Nicholas, how are they going to sell that needle? I mean, no one in their right mind is going to want to go through with this. So how are they going to sell it? What are they going to say the benefits are of it?
Their benefits are that it doesn't require cold chain storage, so it won't need to be refrigerated, and that they will ship it to your house for self-administration. So they'll say it's easier. You don't come into the doctor's office. We'll just ship it to you for free, and you slap it on your wrist, and boom, that's it. And so that's even more dangerous because not only are you self-administering genetic material, there's no oversight. If you have a severe adverse reaction, particularly, anaphylaxis or anything like that, you'll be dead at home with nobody to help. And so that's what they claim the benefits of these are, is that they're more accessible and apparently cheaper and easy to make. And so I don't know who will line up to take this, but if they amplify enough fear for another pathogen, I think they will be able to get at least 20% of people to line up for this.
It's just absolutely horrific. And this is why Catherine Austin Fitz has been shouting out for so long, do not use the QR codes now, because it's making you reliant on them. So when this comes along, you're just going to smooth on into having that. And we do not even begin to know the real dangers of putting that stuff into your body, right?
Oh yeah, we don't know what this quantum dot material does, particularly if it just lasts there forever. We'd have no clue what it does or what this dissolvable microneedle patch material, we don't know if that's toxic. So yeah, we really don't know any of it, but we have to remember they are already testing this in human beings, particularly in Africa, because they love to experiment on those who are, might be unaware of what's happening. The Gates Foundation does. They tested it for actually an MMR vaccine, these microneedle patches. So that's what's also concerning. It might not just be for mRNA. They might start rolling this out for routine childhood vaccines.
Bill Gates should be absolutely banned from Africa or anywhere, and his organization. It's disgusting. Well, thank you for doing that work on it. The McCullough Foundation, Nicolas, is doing absolutely fantastic work. So, Nicolas, we have some breaking news today. Now, I saw this tweet over the weekend. It was sent to me by the Defender team, and it says, Grok says vaccines cause autism after reading our upcoming landmark autism study. So this is, we understand, something that is breaking today. And in fact, potentially first on CHD TV, if I'm right.
Yes, this will be breaking. I will give you the deeds on this landmark study today for the first time. So what we did was, well, first of all, it's 80 pages, right? So it's a very long report, and it's over 300 references. And so what we did was we literally looked at the entire spectrum of literature of the determinants of autism, what could possibly be causing autism. And so so this is actually the first and most comprehensive study in existence to look at both non-vaccine risk factors, all of the domains, and vaccine risk factors, and including vaccinated versus unvaccinated control group studies. And so we did all of this. Since it's the most comprehensive and we see the entire spectrum of possible causes, we can assess, well, which one's contributing more? Are the vaccines contributing more than these others? And what we found was quite shocking, but not unexpected for, many of us who have been paying attention to things. So we identified over 136 vaccine-related studies. We've identified 107 of them that infer a positive association between vaccines or their components and autism spectrum disorder or other neurodevelopmental disorders. Only about 29 found neutral risks or no association, and those were riddled with many fatal flaws, including no unvaccinated control group, registry misclassification. They don't interview the children. They don't verify the vaccine cards or medical records, and they're riddled with all sorts of statistical tricks. As I know, Children's Health Defense's scientific team has clearly outlined in many manuscripts. Dr. Brian Hooker, many of his studies are included in our report as well. So based on that was the vaccine evidence, and then the non-vaccine evidence we identified. Many things, but the main ones are, older parents, premature delivery, gut-brain axis alterations. That one was very strong. And then as well as some common genetic polymorphisms, as well as environmental toxicants, right? Pesticides, that includes heavy metal, air pollution, PFAS. And then we move on to in utero drug exposures. We look at all the classes of drugs. There's about 30 drugs that indicate a possible association with neurodevelopmental disorders. Acetaminophen is one of them. We expand on that. And so all those drugs, but in totality, looking at all of this, and you'll see it in the central figure as soon as this comes out, vaccines are the most significant modifiable risk factor among all of the determinants of autism. That's just what this evidence shows, and it's quite undeniable.
So it's amazing. Thank you, Nicolas. So bottom line is vaccines can and do cause what they call autism. We call it vaccine injury, but so the parents are right. The people who came to the bus, the people who've been shouting out for years saying my child was fine, had a vaccine or vaccines and is now labeled as autism. They were right. Is that what your study shows?
They were right. They were right. And we even collect all the published case reports of this developmental regression. And I know there's a lot of, interviews and real parents saying this happened. We tried to collect whatever we could that was in the published literature, and we found there's about 5 case series of these introductions of vaccines and then developing into regression. And so, yeah, this is what real people are seeing. And this report now does confirm that, yes, that is what parents are seeing. That is what is happening. The child does become injected with multiple doses. Sometimes it can be even one dose, could be MMR, or sometimes they go get the MMR and then they get about 5 other vaccines at the same time. And then they suffer a high fever, and then sometimes they'll get a febrile seizure, right? And then all of a sudden, once they kind of recover from that, it appears that in many cases, particularly in susceptible children, that they will have developmentally regressed and suffered what appears to have been from encephalitis. So their brain became inflamed from this whole load of toxic antigens, of toxic adjuvants, reaches their central nervous system, and then they unfortunately suffer central nervous system damage, or in other words, brain damage. And unfortunately, this causes developmental regression and the expression of autism spectrum disorder. And so, yeah, it's undeniable now. The vaccine cartel cannot deny this anymore.
This is huge news, Nicolas. Huge news to the parents. I'm sure there's many parents listening now that is just probably feeling very emotional because we've been fighting this fight with everything that we have for so long. And I just want to make one point. We have never said that vaccines are the only cause of autism. It just seems to be that all the parents that come to us have had the same story. We give them Tylenol, which because we're told to before vaccinations, we vaccinate them on time. They scream anti-vaxxers at us, but we did everything you told us to do on time. Then we give them acetaminophen again, Tylenol again afterwards. Then they're sick. Then they have antibiotics. Then it's repeat. The kids that are vaccinated are so sick for their first year in life and then end up with this ghastly autism diagnosis, which, by the way, your child will never be the same again once that needle goes in. You might be able to detox your child, but you will never have your child back to what your child was before. Just going on the unvaccinated kids that do have autism type symptoms. And by the way, I've never seen an unvaccinated child have as severe symptoms as my son. You just talked about the gut brain being huge in that cohort study. So can you talk a little bit about that? So what is it with the food they're eating? What is it that's making an unvaccinated child have that same kind of injury?
Yeah, it appears it's altering their microbiome in a negative way. And then all of a sudden they'll have issues, particularly with gut permeability and the metabolites their microbiome is producing, and it'll start to kind of allow toxins to enter through the gut or through the gut barrier and reach the circulatory system, reach the blood, and then reach the central nervous system. And then we know that the gut has strong interactions with the brain. That's documented in so many studies we outlined, but particularly we know Dr. Wakefield's study did document this sort of gut dysfunction in those who regressed after autism. So it appears to play a significant role in this process. But one thing I want to bring up is in this study, we've identified 12 vaccinated versus unvaccinated studies with real unvaccinated control groups. All 12 of them found that the unvaccinated were much, much healthier, suffered far less risks of chronic disease, suffered far less neurodevelopmental disorders, and far less autism spectrum disorders. So when we do proper science and have actual control groups, unlike what's going on now with vaccine science, we see that it's undeniable. And so, and you're right about the profound autism, where you don't see many unvaccinated children with profound autism, which affects about 26.7% of all autistic kids, where 1 in 31 of total kids are on the spectrum, 1 in 12 boys in California. And so if you have 26.7% of them needing 24/7 care, basically, for the rest of their life, that's very, very, very worrisome and very serious. It's not due to increased screening. It is due to iatrogenic exposures, including massive combinations of vaccines, and particularly early timed vaccination during critical neurodevelopmental windows.
And I understand Dr. Wakefield has been included in this study. He has looked at it, looked it over, I don't know, worked on it.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the best of the best. You've got the best of the best team there. And finally, for Andy Wakefield, finally for the parents, we have some justice for our children, that we knew what happened to them. We were not crazy. This did happen to our children. It's a warning to all those young people out there that are about to have babies. Vaccines can and do kill. Vaccines can and do cause autism and many, many, many other diagnoses that are ghastly. Nicolas, you are going to be breaking this news today. You've just done it on CHD-TV, which I'm so grateful for, but you are breaking it formally. Where can people go to see this as it unfolds?
Yes, you will see it on thefocalpoints.com. We'll give the link to the study and everything, a nice breakdown of it, and it will also be on my personal X account at NIC Hulscher.
Yeah, so it's just, I know it took me a second to find you and follow you. So it's at Nick Hulscher, so not his full name. So do follow him, because you're brilliant on it. You just break things down. You smash it out there fast. It's like breaking news all the time. Nicolas, thank you to you and the McCullough Foundation and for all the work that you do. You're a brilliant epidemiologist, and I really, really am so grateful for you on behalf of all the parents around the world that have suffered this with their children. Thank you, Nicolas. You're an amazing human being, and we hope to see you back on CHD-TV soon.
Well, thank you for your kind words, and thank you so much for having me. And I'd love to come back and keep up the great work at Children's Health Defense, the best medical freedom organization that I'm aware of.
Thank you, Nicolas. We'll look forward to seeing this breaking throughout the day, and we will be clipping it like mad. I'm sure our social media team are on standby already. Thank you, Nicolas, for being here so early this morning.
Thank you.